we're in a we're in a moment when whole communities are being criminalized, and indeed whole cities are being uh, targeted and invaded with uh, military and militarized forces. And so it's in that context that we're really beginning to ask questions here about how we engage and create a culture of peace. So I'm wondering if you'd say a little bit about Church of the Messiah, who it is, and about its commitments to building a neighborhood culture of peace.
Yeah, so Church of the Messiah is a 151 year old Episcopal church on Detroit's east side called Island View. Just a little bit about the church. It's a mixed race congregation, Black, white, Asian, and Latino. The majority of the congregation is under the age of 30, though, so it's a little bit unusual. There's a lot of young people in the church. The church continues to be in the community the largest developer in the neighborhood through Church of the Messiah Housing Corporation, which was started way back in 1978, and we're still doing affordable housing. We own 49 vacant lots. We also provide free internet to the community, so we're the competition to Comcast and AT&T, but our internet is free for low cost for people who have don't have the money to be able to pay for it. We have an 84 member marching band in Drumline, which is a literacy program that help kids get into school on full ride music scholarships. Um, Also at the church, we have a EV charging station and a solar power charging station where you can come charge your car, charge your laptop, or charge your cell phone. We got an urban farm, a business incubation center, a doctor's office. So you can literally come to church, get a job, start a business, get into college, charge your phone, charge your car, rent an apartment, get your food, and get your God on all at the same place. So it's different.
That's so good. I really appreciate your quick description there. Messiah actually has a long history of working with young people.
Yes.
I wonder if you'd share a little bit about what it means to help form them, or what it means to develop a culture of peace involving and even learning from young people, perhaps.
Yeah, so when I became a priest, and I was called, so I had a burning bush experience where God literally called me into the ministry, being part of what's happening at Messiah. And one of the things that he told me was, go get my young people. And I said, well, Lord, how do I do that? He said, first, young people, they don't, it's not that they don't believe in me. They just don't like the package that the church put me in. The gift is the same. The gift is Jesus Christ. We're a Christian church. The gift is Jesus Christ. He just said change the packaging. The gift is the same, making it user friendly. So what we did was we combined spirituality with activism. And Messiah got that long history of activism, of education, of affordable housing, workforce development, just all of the different things of building people up. And he said, use that and activate their spirituality and their activism together. Because when you look at Jesus, where was he? Highways, byways, in the street, making a difference in people's lives, calling disciples, changing society. And it was done through spirituality and activism. So that's exactly what it is that we do. We get their warrior spirit, and then we use that in order to change community and neighborhood. And the church grew mostly with young people. That was unexpected. But for a while there, pre-COVID, 60% of our congregation was African American males under the age of 30, which blew my mind. That's who showed up. And that's the thing. We always think young people, we think they reject God. They don't reject God. They don't like church. They don't have a problem with God. And
I
if
think,
you in a package that says this is what we're called to do, because you will find out young people want to stand up for justice. They want to know, what are we going to do about poverty and illiteracy? What are we going to do about homelessness? What are we going to do about what's happening with people all over the world? What are we going to be doing about wars? And the church, a lot of times, is silent. They want
Mhm.
to be a part where it's a movement, but not necessarily a religion. They want to be a part of the righteousness of the movement.
You were mentioning last time we talked about a press conference that the young people sort of put themselves forward for. I wonder if you'd say a little bit about that and what they were eager to say to the neighborhood and the city of Detroit.
Yeah, so every month we hold something that's called the State of the Hood Address, and that name came from a minister. Her name is Pastor Viola Davis, and she coined that phrase. And I said, "Do you mind if I take that and run with it?" And she was like, "Go with it." So we gather once a month at Church of the Messiah, and we address issues from the neighborhood. So June is Gun Violence Awareness Month. We were working on the issue of gun violence, held our Silence to Violence March, which is a big thing all across the state of Michigan, created by Church of the Messiah 18 years ago. But this past summer in Detroit and like every other major city across the country, young people were being murdered this summer. Our young people came to me and said, Pastor Barry, we've heard from law enforcement, we heard from the political leaders, we heard from clergy, but the city of Detroit needs to hear from us, the young people. They need to hear what we think, how we feel, and what we're doing. So they asked if they can hold a press conference. They held a press conference, and it was probably the most effective press conference I've ever seen at Church of the Messiah. So these young people got together, and they are business owners. They've started 501c3s. They're students in school, law school, medical school, all of these incredible students. The message they wanted to put out there was they too are from the hood. So they're from the neighborhood, some of these areas where all of this violence and crime is happening. But they were saying everybody who comes from the neighborhood is not violent. A lot of people are doing the right thing. We want to showcase also from these same neighborhoods. You have people who are stakeholders doing great things. So they wanted to show that to the rest of Detroit. And they came and they showed out, and I was impressed. The news people were impressed, and that was amazing. We have incredible people in the city of Detroit, and that whole thing was geared around the peacemakers. Matthew 9:5, where the Bible says, "Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God." And we were talking about peace has to be made. So it's going into chaos intentionally in order to make change and promote peace.
Oh, great. You mentioned the Silence the Violence March, and that's been around since 2008, right? The
Yeah.
Messiah has been doing that. Yeah, I wonder if you'd say a little bit. I know it's grown and spread outstate in a variety of ways, and I know the Episcopal bishop has been really supportive.
Yeah.
But I wonder if you'd say just a little bit about it's an annual anti-handgun march. Am I right?
Yes. So we created it back in 2008 after a few young people in the neighborhood were murdered. They were innocent victims of gun violence. And we knew we had to do something. We just could not allow them to die, and then that would just be it, and we go on with our lives. So we created Silence to Violence, and what that was is what it is today, but it was a smaller thing in the neighborhood of Island View. 58 people got together, and we decided first we'll honor their memory, and then we will come and bring together the people working to eradicate it, building out strategy, building and promoting community, promoting peace. That's what we were doing. It wound up turning into an annual thing. And after about the third or fourth year, we noticed people from all over the city were coming because people were saying, here's a place where you can honor those who have died, and you can come work with people who are coming up with strategy, with groups and organizations working to eradicate it. Then we looked up, there were 1,000 people here. I'm part of an organization called End Gun Violence Michigan, which I'm part of that. Our bishop is the president of that. And so she came in working on the issue of gun violence and started helping us promoting this should be the work that the entire church should be doing. And the next thing you know, it went statewide. So it's not just in Detroit, it's everywhere from Monroe to Marquette. There's a Silence to Violence event. They're not all the same thing because in Detroit it's a march, but they are also tree plantings, there are art shows, there are concerts, there are teach-ins, there are town halls. They all honor the innocent victim of gun violence, and then they're bringing together the people who are working to eradicate it. We helped to write the legislation that got passed in Michigan, the first gun laws in 40 years that got passed through our state house. That was amazing. And then also, too, we helped to create the atmosphere through which we have the community violence intervention work. So it's been amazing work. And it was to honor those 3 young men who lost their lives back in 2008, that they would not die in vain.
The last time we that you and I spoke, I'm remembering you were getting ready for another State of the Hood event that was going to pull together pastors and congregations. And can you say a little bit about how that came off? Did it go? You were very enthusiastic leading into it, so I hope it came off as well as you were hoping.
Yeah, it did. That State of the Hood was primarily geared towards clergy. So every month when we do them, they have a particular topic that we're working on. This one was geared towards churches and churches working in community, working to promote peace, but also to build community. We were honored to have our lieutenant governor, who was our keynote speaker, who came in and spoke. We had a lot of the local news media, and then we had some national media that was here too, who came in and filmed part of that. And what we wanted to promote then too was peace. How do we build out communities of peace? And how do we get it to whereas we can create these small micro communities? So the plan we talked about is something that's called the Orange Mile. So orange is the color of gun violence. And so we were saying if you take 1 square mile of a redemptive turf and you organize just 1 square mile, small enough to be able to do, and you get the neighborhood block clubs, you get the churches, you get whoever the police precinct is in that area, you get the political leaders who represent that, the schools, whatever medical facilities may be there, and the businesses, and you put everybody on the same page, and you create these small micro communities where people will be responsible for their redemptive turf. So we were talking about how to build out those small micro communities. And we were using Messiah in the Island View community as an example, because for the most part, it's a micro community, it's a community within a community. But we were showing how you have Church of the Messiah, you have the Bog School, the Bog Center, Genesis Hope, Field Street Association, the Downtown Boxing Gym, Mac Development. And we were talking about all of these community groups, block clubs, churches, all working collaboratively to build out a micro community where we will become that beloved community and look out for each other and be the peacemakers in our own communities and making it intentional. So that's what the plan was. And excellent receptive. And it's already built. So all we're doing is duplicating what's already been built. Yeah, and one of the things that's so vitally important that I think that we forget about, creating these micro communities, you are actually allowing us to be who we used to be. Looking back in the day, this is what community was. It's just going a little bit backwards. It's going a little bit more so the way the community was. Everybody say, you know what, it takes a village, and we used to be a village. All it is going back to what's already worked. I grew up in a community neighborhood. Everybody looked out for you, whether that was the mailman or the butcher or the banker or whoever it was. Everybody kind of looked out for you. Children were sacred and our seniors were sacred, and people looked out for our community. And all it is doing that exact same thing. We used to be intentional, and then we kind of got away from that, and then we kind of got in trouble. I believe we just need to go back and be a little bit more intentional again and create that sacred community.
You mentioned a little bit ago, you mentioned both the Bog School and the Bog Center. Uh, Grace Boggs was one of the founders, I don't know if you know, of the National Council of Elders, and she basically lived in your parish, just a few blocks from the church. Her home became the James and Grace Lee Boggs Center, out of which a lot of organizing happens. I wonder if you'd say a little bit about either about your relationship with Grace or the connection between Messiah and the Boggs Center.
Yeah, so I can honestly and truly say Grace Boggs changed my life. She is one of the people like her and Father Ron. There's Ron Span. There's so many people who have actually helped to make me the person I am today. At her legacy and her life and having the opportunity to actually meet with. I used to sit at Grace Boggs' feet at the Boggs Center and just kind of get all of this information and knowledge. And it was just amazing. And one of the things at the time that I became the priest of Church of the Messiah, not just the regular member, I remember being at the Boggs Center and we were putting together something that was called the People's Festival. That People's Festival was going to gather all of the stakeholders on the East Side, and all of us were doing all of this work that was somewhat revolutionary and evolutionary, genuine work, real work, based on character, based on what we called righteous economics. We were really going to come together and make this thing happen. And so that's exactly what happened. I learned how to do that through Grace. We put together that People's Festival, which was honest and truly amazing. And we gathered all people together. And that was the beginning of the connection, or the new connection between Church of the Messiah currently and the Boggs Center, which eventually led to the Boggs School, which we helped to put that together too, which has been amazing. And most of the young children of Messiah attend the Boggs School, which is a freedom school, which is honest and truly amazing because they look after the whole family, and it's a community church, not just a church, not just a school that is just based for the students that's going there. They look out for the whole community and they look out for the whole family. Again, that sense of community to bring together peace. It is amazing. Just place. Amazing history, amazing place.
They have a pedagogy of place-based education, very similar to what you're talking about in terms of place-based ecclesiology.
Yes.
Yeah, right. Um, and maybe in that connection, earlier at the very beginning, you referenced the housing ministry of Messiah, which is huge.
Yeah.
And I think is part of what represents the church's literally on the ground uh, commitment to the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Could you say a little bit about the housing work and maybe how it connects to also to culture of peace?
Yeah, so a few things. So the Housing Corporation has been around since 1978. And over those years, it has built or rehabbed 213 units of housing. And I think right now, currently, I think we own 49 vacant lots. It might be more than that. I'm going to go with the low end. But the belief is you cannot gentrify a neighborhood if you own it. So it's all about ownership. And it's not just the ownership from the Housing Corporation's point of view, but from the community point of view. And it's always been affordable housing, true affordable housing for Detroiters. Not like that affordable housing where you got all of the suburbs, the suburban numbers all mixed in, and then nobody can afford it because nobody's making money like that. This is true affordable housing based on the city of Detroit. That history is still continuing. The Housing Corporation has two projects that's coming up. One where we're going to build more housing on the corner of Congress and East Grand Boulevard. And then the other one is going to be on Field Street and the corner of Kercheval. So that should bring together about another 100 more units of affordable housing to the community and neighborhood. With building that housing, we get to put the mentality of the church's mission, not a religion, not proselytizing or anything like that, but a mindset of righteousness. To be to look out for your community, to look out for your neighbor, to become part of a community. And it is a privileged community that you're coming into. So it's not like you just coming in and you get to kind of mind your own business. No, you're kind of coming into a tribe. You're coming into a community where there is a culture of peace, where people are going to look out for each other. And this neighborhood is intentional. So you're coming into an intentional community created by people to be able to have the type of village that they know where they can be safe, they can raise their children and they can grow old in.
Hmm. I'm thinking uh, the Episcopal bishop, previous bishop, once said, insofar as the Episcopal Church has a public profile in the city of Detroit, it's because of the Church of the Messiah, and I think that's really true. You're doing so much, and the uh, the event bringing pastors and congregations together to talk about turf-based, place-based work makes me think you're being evangelical about the way the church is being in the world and in the city and in the neighborhood. Do you see other congregations picking up similar methods? And in particular, I mean, I think of your ability to draw in young black men into worship and into work. Are other congregations, other pastors, tapping into your secret on that?
Yeah, and it was so funny. They said, "Oh, Pastor Barry, you need to write a book on how to do this." And I said, "No, we just need to follow the book that was written 2,000 years ago, because that's all we do is follow the book." And I told them too, in the city of Detroit, with about what is it, about 640,000 Detroiters, and about at least 3,000 churches. This should be the holiest place on earth. And yet still we have all these issues. So if we really want to be the people God is calling us out to be, then therefore we need to be intentional in our work. And I think so many times we forget that we're not calling people into religion, we're calling them into righteousness. And so many times we concentrate on what religion is, but if we would just concentrate on the righteousness, to be able to look out for our brothers and sisters, to be able to look out for the least of these, to stand up for those who are opposed, for those who have to deal with injustices. This is what it is Jesus called us to do. And that does not mean just going to a building on a Sunday and worship. That's a praise time. But the work of the church is not in a building, it's actually in the street. And if we kind of take it to the street and make it tangible, something you can see, touch, feel, be a part of, I think that's when God is pleased. I get in trouble because I say sometimes as church, we commit spiritual malpractice. We can talk a good game, but if we can't pull it off, then we need to be quiet. So it's all about pulling it off. We need to be able to do the work. So the church should be the developer. The church should be the educator. The church should be the place of community and safety. That should be the place where you can redo your life and have an opportunity to be able to start all over. The church should be the employer, and it should work towards equity and righteous economics and be that place that everybody want to be a part of. So I think that's what we should be working on. And there are congregations and churches literally following Messiah's model. And it's not just in Detroit, it's all over the country because they fly in to come see what we're doing. And I'm just trying to figure out how do y'all know about us in Oklahoma City or in Memphis, this, that, and the other. But it's the age of technology and people talk and you can see the results of what it is that we do. And I think that's what it is. And we're called to cast out the demons of today, poverty, illiteracy, apathy, all of those things. We're called to cast out those demons. So we have work to do.
And you're doing it.
Yes.
I'm so grateful for your willingness to tell the story here, to preach to us a little bit, but especially for the work of you and the congregation in that Highland View neighborhood. Thanks for being with us here. Is there anything else you would want to add or say?
Yeah. I owe a debt to the people who created Messiah. I owe a debt to those who have stood before me. This is not the Pastor Barry show. This is more so the fact that I came into a community. I came into something that I long to see, that I wished for all my life, and to find a congregation and a church and a group of people back in the day who were just doing it. Unsung heroes. They were unsung heroes. I didn't start the Housing Corporation. It was already here. I didn't start Boulevard Arambe. It was already here. I didn't start a lot of these things. I just want to build on the things that were already created. And this was a place, a church for all people, that you can come in just as you are, but boy, you will not leave out the same. And that is the blessing. That is the blessing of Church of the Messiah. And we will have a legacy of incredible, gifted people who will take this on after I'm long and gone somewhere in Trinidad, Tobago, Costa Rica, somewhere under the sun doing my thing. There will be another legacy of Messiah that everybody's going to be hearing about. And I will be that distant memory of the people who were standing, going along with everybody else who've been doing this for years. Well, I always tell people, if you know how to doubt, deny, betray, and run, you can be a disciple. Exactly and they were disciples. They were called anyway. They made all these incredible mistakes, but they were still great people of God in the end. And that's why they come to church. That's the way that I preach. I have to put it in a way that they understand that makes it all about today. And let me just say this, because a lot of times we forget who Jesus was. And in terms of Christianity, we always forget who Jesus was. And we make it so hard to think about, well, I could never be a follower of God. And how in the world can Jesus relate to me? And I'm this average person from East Side Detroit. And I always tell them things like, have you ever noticed, or when you read the Bible, you know, Mary was pregnant with Jesus first before she was married. So when you stop and say, my mama was pregnant first, yeah, Jesus was like, yeah, mine too. When you stop and say, the man who raised me was not my father, Jesus will say, yeah, mine too. My brothers and sisters couldn't relate to me because we had nothing in common, but we're in the same house. Jesus is like, mine too. The people on my job don't understand me. So he goes into the religious people that said that they don't get who he is. And, you know, and then Jesus is like, me too. You say things like, I was born on the wrong side of the tracks. I was born basically in a barn, in the midst of animals and pee and poop. And I came right in the middle of that. I'm catching hell. Yeah. I'm being crucified. Yep. They're trying to kill me. Yep. Been falsely accused. Yep. You got more in common with Jesus than you know, but we don't tell the story where it is relatable to people in their actual lives. We don't do the connection that God did not separate him from anything that we go through. So it's this whole thing, the blended family, it's in there. The teenage pregnancy actually is in there. The baby daddy, that's actually in there. Being doubted and turned in by the people who was closest to you, yeah, that's in there. Murder is in there. Being falsely, it's all in there. And I look at Jesus, I don't see no happy life. I don't see Jesus around with no happy life where he's stopping, spending time, going, sitting by the water, being nice, peaceful, and quiet. No, I see somebody who spent all of their time fighting for justice, and it was not easy. And it cost him his life. It cost him his life in order to be able to do that. And then he says things like, you got to pick up your cross and follow me, meaning it's going to cost you something. If you are a true follower of mine, it is going to cost you something in order to do this work. Why do you do it anyway if it's going to cost you something? Because the reward is greater than that. Like, for instance, when I became the pastor of the church, Messiah had no money, so they couldn't pay me. So I couldn't be the paid priest, so I had to do it for free. Anyway, so you do it because you see you have the love of the church, the love of God, and the love of the people. So you do it anyway. Is there a cost to that? Yes, it's going to cost you something to be able to do that. And then the congregation see that. And Bill, just so you know, I quit my job. I left my house and I moved into the building. We do have the apartment inside the church. So I moved into that. Everybody thought I was crazy because the church was close to closing. And they said, Pastor Bear, if this don't work, you're going to be homeless, churchless, and unemployed. Nope, that's what faith is. You're going to believe anyway. So I can see that, but I trust and believe God more.